Hey guys, Mike from Missouri. Well, things aren't going so well with this restoration this past couple of weeks. Progress has been really slow, and I've had to pay some stupid tax. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, so before I painted this loader arm, I wanted to fit the main bushing to the frame of the machine. You saw last week I put a video out about taking a slight bow out of these arms using flame straightening. That went really well. So then I moved on to the main bushing here. And I've been getting up at 5 in the morning. And I've been trying to bring this from 1.25 inches, which is the factory size, up 50 thousandths to 1.300. Let me show you what happened. So I was able to get this to 1.300 right on the money. Got me some 4140 that I was going to use for the pin. This is machined like a 1.299, like 1,000ths under. It just slides in. This is where it gets bad. So I got both sides enlarged, but if you can see, it's sitting up. I didn't get the angle straight, or I was putting down pressure on my little tool that I used. And there's no way that's going to go in. So what do I do about it? Well, I'm going to do what I should have done from the very beginning. Instead of shortcutting it and enlarging it, which I'll show you what I use to enlarge it here in a minute, I'm going to have to set up my homemade lime bore setup and bring that back straight, and hopefully I'm not having to take too much material out to get it back straight. All right, so this is what I use to enlarge that hole. This is a Lyle pinhole hone from the Lyle Corporation, Clarinda, Iowa. And I bought this right before I bought these little Amco hones, which these work great, but they don't remove material very fast at all. And I'll show you how this one works. It's got a little flexible joint on this end, a tapered main shaft, and then you pick which size arbors or whatever you call these, and they slide up and down the shaft, making your hole smaller or bigger. And there's a nut here, and this whole thing is spring-loaded. Well, they don't sell these sanding pads anymore. This is a homemade one. I cut them out of this roll of ceramic sandpaper. It really needs to have emery cloth because the backing on this stuff isn't strong enough. So I peel the adhesive or the backing off, and there's some weak adhesive. Cut some screening material, like for window screens. Fit it on the back here, then I use a heat gun and heat it up. And so that's how it locks in on the tool. It slides down this groove. And then it folds over and around, and that's what keeps it in. Well, without this little metal on the end, it doesn't stay in. So then I take some roof flashing and cut the folded over edge out of it. and then I put it in my vise and smash it on there. And this works really well. Without the screen, this stuff just wants to tear. But I went through, here's just some of them, 20 of them in 3 mornings probably, for about 2 hours a morning, to bring that up to 1.300. And as you can see a little bit earlier, it was a complete waste of time. So I paid my stupid tax and a bunch of wasted time. But I'm not going to stew over it. I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to move on and use my homemade boring bar setup right here to line bore that back. Worst case scenario, I have to torch out the old bushings and put new bushings on both sides, but I don't think I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to get this back in line. There's still a lot of meat on the bushing, and actually when I look at it, it looks like it's thinner on the bottom because I got this thing angled down. And I think what happened is mainly, let me get you set up here, mainly that when I was holding that tool, the weight of my drill just slowly caused me to put a little slight upward angle on it, and it didn't align. Should have known better, but we're going to fix it. I'm going to use some Dom tubing to make a cone, a tapered cone, that'll help me center up my boring bar to the existing holes. I'm going to dial indicate it in the forejaw here. I'm going to stick it out a little bit more. It's high there, tighten that down. It's high there. So I'm going to have to loosen the other side a little bit. Tighten this. It's pretty close there. Snug everything down. Recheck it. It's in about 1,000, so that's good enough for what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to use the compound to cut a taper on this piece. So I'm loosening the nuts up. And this machine, this lathe does have a taper attachment, but this is a really short taper, so it's not really necessary. Do something like that. Tighten it back down. Okay, so the compound's set at an angle, so when I run this forward and backwards, it's going to cut this at an angle. So I'll keep running the carriage in and out as I need to, and we'll put a taper on this piece so we can use the cone to align our boring bar. I'm going to turn the rotary phase converter on now. All right, start the lathe up. All right, make sure you guys can see. Got you on the back side of the lathe because that's the best place I can get the camera. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and square this edge up, face this off first. Okay? So, I'll run this in where it just starts to touch. And just go back and forth. And just keep advancing the carriage feed.
Just a couple more passes.
That should do it. You need to check the ID. This is really close to 1 inch, but I don't know. I think I need to just take a skim coat on the inside of that. All right, got the second one done. This is what we got. Let me show you how they are going to be used. Basically, the two inside holes for the loader arms, I believe to be in the correct place. I'm going to use these tapered bushings to center on the holes. So center it, get you zoomed in here. So center it up on that hole, one on each side. This one will go over here. And then I'll mount my bearing blocks. Which will allow me to take a cut on these bushings that are misaligned on this side. It'll cut while everything is in perfect alignment. So now that I got these bushings made, I can start mocking up this homemade boring bar setup. Get that tack welded here. We'll do the other side. Okay, got the welder over here. Kick it on. Put the ground clamp on the back side. And I'm going to tack this bracket on. A lot of contamination down there. I think that one's centered up a lot better. The weld didn't pull it. Yeah, it's about perfect. The weld distortion kind of pulled that one off, but I can fix it by loosening those bolts. Okay, I want to show you my setup here. I've taken 3 passes on this homemade line bore. I didn't record it because I have a couple other videos showing me doing the boom and the quick attach on the 1840. So if you go back into the 1840 playlist under my channel, you can find some of those videos. But I ended up having to get a longer bar. So this is a 6-foot piece of 1045, and it was out. It's pretty close. I put a dial indicator on it, and it was 50 thousandths run out in the center. So I, again, used some flame straightening, and you can see where I did it. And I was able to get this. I did it a couple over here. This is a high spot. Heat the highs, cool them off real quick. I got a video of that as well. Flame straightening on that loader boom. You can see all those heat spots. Anyway, I got this down to 4 thousandths. So it runs real true. Plenty good for what we're doing here. This is at an angle. So luckily these pillow block bearings allow for that. The bearings will rotate in the housing. But good news, I only had to take out additional 60 thousandths. So I was at, factory is 1.25. I had machined it out, well, using that sandpaper hone, got it out to 1.300, and that's when it was out of alignment. And now to get it cleaned up in alignment, it is 1.365. So I'll pull this out. This is where the little cutter goes. Show you the cutter here. Let's see, where's the cutter? Oh, here we go. It's just a little 1/8 inch high-speed steel. Goes in there. And that set screw locks it, and you just adjust it in and out for how deep you want to cut. Run it with the drill here. This goes against my drill and allows me to feed in slowly. But I'll get you a view of the surface here. Let's see if I can get some light on that. There we go. And it's cleaned up all the way through. So I'll get my Amco hone on that after I get the other side done. The other side I haven't touched at all yet, so it should be pretty easy to take care of. But plenty of meat here still, over 1/4 inch. It's 50 thousandths thinner than factory on each side. I'm about 100 over total. I ended up trying to center. I centered off this bearing with these cones. This side turned out good. It was nice and centered. This side here was, but it didn't seem right over here. Well, this was actually worn. So I ended up centering on the outside of this bushing. I'm pretty certain that the hole here would have been centered with the outside diameter, so I measured with my dial caliper all the way around. That's what these measurements are for, to center that bar in there to get everything in line. So I'm pretty confident in within 10 to 20 thousandths, which is plenty good for what we're doing here. So with that, I got this going in the right direction. I'm going to do this side off camera. This whole last 2-3 weeks, I've really not had great interesting content because I've spent so much time trying to get this taken care of. I'm wanting to paint the loader boom, but I don't want to paint it if I'm going to have to modify something. So now's the time to do it. I'm spending the time now doing this now, hopefully to save me time later. So I'll get some more interesting content coming out soon. Need to pull the cab off in the next video. I'm going to do a video on that. And then we're going to start taking apart the rest of the machine. And I plan on doing several videos on that as well. So we'll see you next time. Thanks.